Boom. What's up, Caleb?
What's up, guys? Young Money McJuicy on this beat.
All right, Marco, how to catch bears?
How to catch bears, set a trap. It's the best way
Boom.
to do it.
Traps. Run the intro.
Lately I ain't sleeping much, I'm staying up at night, wondering if all the choices that I make are right. A lot of people doing music for a piece of pie, but all I ever...
And we're back. What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Fernando Sergey.
Young Money McJuicy again.
And with us today, joining us, DeMarco Speller.
Yo, what's up?
So, DeMarco was, how many years were you here for? 5?
This would be my 6th, but undergrad, 5.5-ish, somewhere around there.
That's what's up, man. If you want to hit us up with a little bit of your background to kind of start off with, bro.
All right, you want me to go back to high school? Or
Yeah,
just
let's
let's
talk
talk
high school
high
wrestling.
school.
Let's talk high school
I
wrestling.
want to talk high school wrestling. Not going to be too impressed. High school, started wrestling, junior year high school, like middle of the season towards the end. Yeah, it was a short time. Junior year, didn't take the season too serious. I was just there because, they stuck me in there for a class. Actually, I got picked up by my high school wrestling coach out of his PE class. So, he was like, why don't you come try wrestling? I was like, sure. I'm not doing anything else.
Not doing anything
so,
else.
Yeah, so joined up there, came to practice. My brother was already wrestling. My friend Gabe, a lot of the guys I'm here with now were already wrestling. So I started wrestling then, went to one tournament because I was ineligible all season. Went to one tournament, took a bye, so I was happy. Oh, I got my first wrestling match win. It was a forfait,
Hey,
The
those
next-
count as dubs. I don't know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. I'm 1-5 on this season. What's up?
And then the next match I had was against a wrestler, and then proceeded to get spladled. It was bad. It was rough. It was so
My
quick.
guy.
Like I don't know how many lights I counted in the process. So that season ended because still couldn't wrestle. Senior year coming in, I started taking it a little more serious. I got my act together. Started passing my classes, all that good stuff. I was a district champ. Went to regionals. Made it to day 2. I was out the second round of day 2, so I didn't get to the placement matches. And then that was pretty much the end of that high school wrestling season.
Damn.
And then I didn't get recruited. I got recruited by not recruited, but it's Bacone. They send everyone letters. Like, hey, come
Yeah,
to Bacone
I
and
never
wrestle.
never got a letter from Big
Oh, they send everyone letters. It's like you don't even have to worry about that. They just got a letter, and I.
But what about through that coach?
Yeah, sorry to burst that bubble.
Captain you or whatever. Yeah. There's this website that contacted the same schools contacted both of us all the time. It was cool.
Oh, okay. Well, that was Bacone, the equivalent to Bacone.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
We're trying to get everyone. And then so I was just like, I don't want to go there. So I wasn't going to wrestle in college. I was actually going to go up to Johnson, Wales, which is in Rhode Island. But
Wow.
I got some money, but I think they're a D3, so everyone gets the same amount of.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
because
I heard about them,
D3 gives out
They-
academic
yeah,
scholarships.
all academic scholarships. Yeah, so there's no athletic scholarships. So
Yeah.
I got some money from there. It was a decent amount of money, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm just staying home, So I had no intent of wrestling in college. I was like, whatever, I'll just go to
Kick
EP.
it, yeah.
Kick it up my community college, get a job, whatever. And then Gabriel, my friend Gabriel Perez, and who's the comic connoisseur thing.
Yeah,
Go
shout out to
around.
those
Shout out
guys.
to-
Episode 2.
So they were him and this other chick, Allison, who was a state champ. She was real good. They were gonna come up here. They had their signing and all that. And then my high school coach was like, "Yo, why don't you just go there?" And I was like, "All right, sure, whatever." So they threw me on board with the whole signing thing. I got in, and then, long story short, ended up at Wayland. And then from that transition was my freshman year at Wayland. I had to redshirt. My grades weren't up to par. And then fast forward, got my sophomore year, my redshirt sophomore year. Wrestled. I was back up to Andrew Porras, who was an All-American his senior year. He was like a 3-time national qualifier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he was pretty tough.
Dude was a stud.
Oh yeah, he'd spank me like it was like no one's business.
He was like 40 pounds lighter than me, and he still spanks me.
Yeah, he's in like a whole nother league of his own, And so did that. He was my wrestling partner for the longest up until he graduated. And so my sophomore year, we were in like this really tough region. It was Grandview, Iowa, who are now 7-time defending NAI national champs.
We don't got to talk about that.
Yeah, those are dark times. And then there was like Missouri Valley, Missouri Baptist, all these other real tough schools.
Right.
I ended up going to that tournament. I got 6th, which was all right. I mean, I at the time, I was a freshman, so I was just like, oh, cool, I'm at the regional tournament. They took me. I placed. I wasn't
Yeah.
expected to place. So
There
I
you
was,
go.
living the limelight. I was like, oh, I'll take my victories and call it a day, And then, so I ended up getting sixth, and I wrestled this kid the fifth and sixth place match. Yeah, the fifth and sixth place match, I was wrestling this kid from Missouri Valley who was a previous qualifier. Had I won that match, I would have wrestled Porus for the chance to go to nationals.
Wow.
But but I didn't as a freshman. I was just like, yo, I made it. I did.
You were
pretty
happy to
decent.
be
Yeah, I was
there.
content.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever. And so I ended up losing the match. I wasn't too heartbroken. I was just like, I did good. I don't care what anyone fucking says. I did good. And then, that following year, made it to that. The following year, I qualified, which was my redshirt junior year. I qualified for nationals. I got second in the region we were in. I wrestled Porus in the finals. And again, same thing. I was like, whatever. I'm
Happy
already
to be here.
happy. I was like, I qualify for nationals. I don't
Yeah,
care
you're
about
like,
the finals.
I'm here. We're
yeah,
fine.
So I ended up getting abolished in the finals. Like no one's
Jeez.
business. Abolished. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever.
Abolished.
And then so
By Porus, right?
yeah, by Porus.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
he clapped them cheeks. So that year, qualified for nationals. I was real happy. Made it to nationals. I ended up going. My first match was against some kid from Midland, David Berg, who is now he just won nationals. So shout out to him. Congrats. I wrestled him. He's a freshman. He ended up pinning me in the second period, and then in the finals I had Porus. And I was like,
Chingo.
shit, not
Chingo,
the finals, but
right.
on that backside, because Porus ended up losing his first match. And, that was his senior year. We went out there and we wrestled. We scrapped. It was a nail-biting match. Went into double overtime.
Dang.
And then I ended up giving up a takedown, That's a whole nother story I'll talk about later. But, yeah, I ended up getting kicked out of the tournament by him. He knocked me out.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I was the starter then. Everyone's like, oh, it's your year, that whole spiel. And I was like, oh, let me just play by ear.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
like, we'll find out. We'll see. How
wait
this
and
works
see,
out.
Yeah, because I know, I've only known you 2 years, but, the biggest thing I got out of the fact last year of you wrestling was the fact that you didn't live by, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there, I'm going to put in the work, and whatever happens, happens,
Exactly.
Don't talk about it, just be about
Be
it.
about it.
Exactly, with the sport of wrestling, nothing's guaranteed. You can get dropped by some kid who's not seeded, some kid who has a 2-5 record,
That's right. 1 in 5. Watch out. What's up?
It's just whoever's willing to go out there and scrap, The 1-5, 0-5, anyone can get that smoke, right?
That's right.
And then so that year qualified. That was when I won my region. I wrestled a kid who's now at Baker. He was at Bacone. I had me and this kid would go back and forth. Wrestled him first time I wrestled him, majored him. Second time I wrestled him, it was a close match. I won by decision. Third time he got the best of me by 1 or 2 points. Whatever, no big deal.
But we ain't got to talk about that.
Yeah, and so the actually funny story about that. So this kid, his name was Brandon Vela. He
The
wrestled
Eagle.
him- yeah, the Eagle, right? Got his Eagle powers, right? And then so wrestled him, and then it was the last duel of the season. The duel wasn't looking too hot for us. I mean, we could have won, but I don't like following up with an L. So for example,
Right, yeah.
our 125 goes out there and gets smacked. So now it's I have to set the pace. I have to
Yeah.
set the tone, and it's too much pressure. I prefer to follow up with a win. So if
Yeah.
my 25 wins,
Ride on
I'll
that
keep
wave.
ride on the win.
Yeah.
Well, our 25 winning the match and then gives it up, and dude ends up coming back and beating him. And so I was like, oh great. And so I
There
knew
we
I had a tough match, tough kid. So we're wrestling, we're going at it. I end up losing, and then he hits a flex on me, and I was just like,
This is what it has came down to.
Yeah,
This is
right.
what the rivalry has came
right? And
down
that started
to.
it all. That started it all. So he hit a flex on me, and I was like, whatever, fuck this guy. And then so we ended up, I think we actually lost that duel to Bacone, which was rough. And then so regionals rolls around. Regionals that following week, hit that regional tournament, and I had him in the finals, which was a real tough one because it was a very close match. Score was 7-6, something like that. It was a
Damn.
close
Ooh,
match.
yeah.
But I was up by 3 or 4, just kind of stalling. I was like, I was getting tired, feeling the fatigue. And I was like, okay, let me just stall out and I can get the easy win. He ends up hitting a little duck on me, catches me.
Oh.
And I was like, and so he cuts me trying to get another one. I ended up getting the win. going off. So, I hit my flex back. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Boom. All
there
right.
it
So
is.
that's
I
you,
got
that's
you,
you
yeah.
getting that revenge.
Yeah, you
There
know.
it is.
And then that's when, qualified for nationals that year. He ends up beating me the round before the blood rounds again. So, yeah, so I guess he gets the final laugh. So he beats me that round before the blood rounds, and then that ended that season for me. Went on to my senior year. Wasn't too high, couldn't make 33s.
You had you made it to 33s once, right?
I twice actually.
Yeah.
For the OCU duels and then for the Wayland invite.
Yeah, and I remember like it was just tough for you to get your flow going because I know we talked about it a little bit just because I went up and I don't think about shit sometimes, and I'm like, hey, you're not wrestling like yourself, and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like myself.
Yeah.
It was just a real tough cut, and I mean, I'm not the kind of dude to chalk it up to like, my body's feeling this. It was a tough cut, because me, I think it's more of a mental game. Like,
Yeah, right.
If you can mentally get past that block, nothing should stop you. You know what I mean? And so it's just, but that time it for real was the cut. Like anything I ate or drank was just running right through me. Like it was.
Me
like,
too.
Like had I.
Don't even worry about it.
That was the thing because I remember I don't know what you were eating because some guys that sat in front of us left to go get some Mickey D's after weigh-ins, but I was eating fruit. You were eating too, and then out of nowhere, I'm like, oh shit, it hit me, and I was like in the bathroom until like we warm up again,
bro.
Exactly.
Like on the handicap handle, just holding on.
Yeah,
to your
because that was
leg.
the first time I made
explosive.
84 too. That was the first time I had made 84
you had a
too.
tough cut as well.
Man, that was awesome.
And it
That
was
was
just
awesome.
rough times, dude. Rough times. And then, God bless it. And then so like that cut, it was just bad. Like low key, had I like if the dude I was wrestling would have tight waisted me, just a little tighter, he'd have probably caught me, poop. Something was gonna come out. It was bad. Like that's how like things were running through me.
Dang.
And I was just like, I wouldn't. Yeah. So I ended up I wrestled good my first match, And then I was just like, things were running through me. I couldn't retain any water, any liquids, no food, like everything. It was running through me, it was like a horse on a racetrack. Like
Damn.
it was out of there.
After the match, shook hands and went straight to the
bathroom.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And it was tough. So I couldn't do the cut anymore. Went up to 41s. Didn't have the season I wanted, but I mean, it's a learning lesson. Ain't no point getting all depressed on the past. It happens.
Yeah.
Right.
That's life.
Yeah. So the senior season wasn't too great, but it was a learning lesson. So like with all that, 2-time qualifier, regional champ, I'm not disappointed.
And now now a graduate too, which is like
Yeah.
really what you set out to do when you
Yeah.
got here. Because I know one thing we kind of like touched up on last year on the team was the fact that like a lot of people don't know what it's like to just come in and like ride on literally being a walk on.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
we had lots of guys because I guess this average system came into play.
yeah,
and so
exactly.
those people that were below that average system, got offended, whatever the case may be, and they're like, "Oh, I'd rather walk on." And I was like, "Y'all don't know the struggle of a walk on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to earn your stuff. Nothing was ever given. Like if you were here anytime before last year, like you knew, like if you weren't that good, you have to earn it. Which I mean, in some cases, I think that's a little better because now no one's falling into that sense. Because like you just getting that handout is like,
Right.
Some guys think like, well, I got my scholarship, I'm dope. While other guys are like, okay, cool, I got $2,000, I want more.
Yeah,
exactly.
I prefer
work for it, yeah.
wrestling with those guys because those guys won't stop. They'll be like, no, well, I want to keep going, as opposed to some of the other kids we had who are like,
Right,
I'm
'cause
just
my-
gonna ride on this.
Yeah, exactly.
my
Like I'm
first-
here.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lose money or something
Exactly.
like that.
My first semester I got here, and I had $1,000 to help towards my dorm fee.
Yeah, which I wish I had. That would have been nice.
So I was like, I even came in more privileged than you did.
Yeah, because I didn't have. I was paying nothing. Like
You're paying
everything
the-
out
the
of pocket.
full tuition,
Full
yeah.
tuition out of
Oh,
pocket. Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
heavy.
I was lucky enough to like get that $1,000 towards my
Yeah.
dorm, and I was staying at Jimmy Dean.
Yeah, and that's
So
an
that's
expensive
the
one as well,
expensive
yeah.
dorm too. So, but then we transitioned into the next semester, and like people left. I was obviously putting in the work, all that good
Yeah.
stuff, and then I got some money.
Good things come. Yeah.
Exactly. And then when people got here, some people got here last year or last semester, and were like thinking they were big balling and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's like, little do you know, you're on that spectrum, dude.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
1 in 5. What's up?
right.
Yeah, I mean, it was that there's always those hills you gotta those walls you hit where you run into wrestlers like that. So it's just. But my big thing was like that transition from I did my 5 years, as the athlete.
Exactly.
And then hitting that grad year where it's like I'm no longer an athlete. I'm kind of like in that coaching role. Not really.
Yeah, 'cause you're a
coach,
GA,
but-
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not really a coach, but I'm there to help. I want
exactly.
people to succeed. I want our wrestlers to accomplish great things. And so like switching in that role was probably one of the most strenuous for me, just because like I know I'm not a very upbeat kind of guy. Like, oh yeah, even if you're trash, you're gonna do good.
You're working hard.
yeah,
You'll
you have-
straight
you
up.
have your own way to
straight up
motivate
tell you,
people.
you're trash.
I don't beat around the bush. I'll tell you, like, yo, dude,
That was
you're not
garbage.
that good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, and it hurts some people, it offends some people, but I'm like, I mean, I don't want you to walk around with like this false sense of like, oh, I'm the greatest on the team, and it's like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, because then they're gonna get out and get their
Get-
shit kicked in, and they're just
Yeah.
like, oh,
what? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and we've had those guys. I'm not gonna name drop, but yeah, we've had those guys, and it's just like
1 in 5. What's up?
And then so like we have those guys. It's just like my biggest problem was like keeping my mouth shut, because normally I'm just
Yeah.
like I'll call you out on your BS, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, you're not what you think you are.
Yeah.
So like that was probably my biggest thing. But when I got the hang of that, it was more of me trying to just motivate our athletes, whether the athlete wasn't too good or not. I pick and chose my words to say, because there were some athletes we had that just were not coachable. Like you just couldn't. You tell them like, yo, seal off, fight hands. They're standing up, hands up, don't shoot. So it's like, and then they get dropped. So it's just that's probably one of the hardest parts. And I spoke with head coach, assistant coaches, and stuff like that. And I was like, yo, I apologize to them. I was like, yo, I'm sorry. Because I probably put y'all through some similar stuff, but now I know what y'all are going through as
Yeah,
coaches.
exactly.
Like, what you
Right.
got to
Yeah.
deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I personally think the way you go through coaching really helps, or at least it like connects really well to me, because I remember a couple practices, like, I don't know, I was just feeling like crap and just kind of going through the motions, and we were
Yeah.
going live, and you were like, hey, let's go, like, hit us, snap him, go, and it was
Yeah.
just, then it like kind of picked it up, because
Yeah.
like some of the other coaches will just kind of watch and then taking the information and do it later, but like
Yeah.
having somebody there that'll tell you to get on your shit like right then and there,
Yeah.
that's probably that's a big thing for me at least.
Yeah.
Right, and I think one of the biggest factors is the fact, like, for us, we have Mitch, right? Mitch is that upbeat, in your face, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but he's always positive about it, right?
Yeah.
So being able to, like, have that one person that's a bit more serious
Yeah.
in your face, more like,
Yeah.
hey, like, let's get shit done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and of course you bring the different language, you bring the different like vibe.
Different language.
Yeah, which it pretty much is it is.
No,
it is
yeah,
what
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So like you bring that different, not I wouldn't say more firm because Mitch is firm as well, but like
Yeah.
you just
It's
like
just a
I
different
said,
level
we're,
of
we're
motivation.
we're used to the hey f this and
Yeah.
Mitch is just like hey let's do this, keep going, blah
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah,
and if
that's right.
not,
Shout
yeah.
out Coach Conger.
Like Mitch is
PCA.
Mitch is
PCA.
more of that hype man kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
he's real positive, upbeat, but he's the kind of guy that's like, let's go, and he's not really gonna. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking on his coaching skills.
He's
everyone has
fantastic,
their
right?
way of coaching. He has his
Exactly.
way.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
works for him. But he's more of like the I guess he'll hit you more spiritually than anything.
Yeah,
That
and always
is very
he always
true.
he always looks at the positive side
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
He's the
which
one that's
works
gonna
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
He's the one that's gonna like start that fire under your butt to like get you going. He's like, oh,
Exactly.
okay, with this whole best time of the day thing, that still kills me to this day.
Yeah.
But I mean, like he does what he does, but me, I'm more like, yo, hit this move, doing this, working, moving forward. Like I'll spit some technique at you as opposed to waiting 2 days when it's like too late.
Yeah,
like,
until
there's-
I
until
get
like
that.
you're warming up and
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I noticed a couple days ago,
Yeah.
try this.
Like,
Yeah.
because I know it's real easy. Like, I've been there. It's real easy to, if you have a not so good partner, to just kind of, oh, well, I'm whooping on him. And he's, for example, with you, when you were wrestling and you were wrestling with Bonner, and Bonner was just having a terrible practice and you were just getting in on him. And, like, you'd be on top of him waiting for him to, like, either belly up or recover from his base or something like that. I'm like, cut him and take him down again. Because now, at that point, the way I see it is, like, if he's not going to give you his fullest while he's wrestling, then pick him apart. Now's your chance to push your blow out your lungs, push your pace to better yourself at that point. Because you kind of matching that level won't get you anywhere. Because then
That's
you'll
true.
go into a match wrestling some scrub and you'll wrestle down as opposed to wrestling up. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And that won't help anyone. So
Exactly.
that's just what I see. Like when y'all are wrestling, I'm just like, if your partner's not gonna be all in, then you force him to be all in, or you leave him in the dust.
True. So with that, that's just pretty much you kind of finding your coaching style too. You know.
Yeah, and that had a lot to do with it because I mean, like I said, that transition from athlete to coach it's a tedious one because you have to pick and choose what to say, what to do, and how to act.
With
Right.
with certain people
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
With certain people, like because at the same time, like some wrestlers aren't gonna have that respect or like that sense of like like authority figure just because it's like you probably wrestled with them. Like so, for example, like Riley. Don't get me wrong, Riley he listens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He'll listen, but like he doesn't react certain ways. Like
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, if
Because he
ye-
sees you more of a teammate.
Exactly, but like so if you're yelling at him, he won't. It's in one ear out the other. You
Yeah.
know, whether you're a coach or a former teammate. But like in my case, I'm a former teammate. So like, let's say I got all pissy with him and I just like, yelling at him like you need to do this and you gave up. He's gonna look at me like I'm a fool. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like so it's not gonna get anywhere. So I just like whether he wins or loses, I talk to him like, yo, you did good, but here's what this instance if you'd have done this instead of this, and then he'll take it in like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to
More of like
me.
constructive criticism.
Yeah, he'll take it as a construct. He won't get all pissy back. Oh, well, you're not even an actual coach and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just you have to pick and choose what and who you're talking to. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing as like that transition because they won't see you as an authority figure. Now, if they're like a freshman or something, yeah, they might see you as an authority figure. But like in my case, behind closed doors, I'm cool with a lot of guys. Like
Yeah.
we'll
Right.
go out, we'll have a good time. You know what I mean? I don't even want to truly accept that role as a coach because it's like I'm not really that coach.
Yeah.
I'm around. We can have our good times. We can go out, have fun. But when it's
Yeah.
time to take care of business,
It's time to go to
I
work.
want you
Yeah.
to take care. Like I'll take
Right.
care
You
of business
wanna
with you.
you
know what I
wanna
mean?
you want them to understand that line between coach
and like
between
friend, like,
between
Yeah.
coach and friend and where and when
yeah,
that's
when
able
it's
to
appropriate type stuff. Yeah, that's like the main thing. So just that was. I mean, and it was fun. Like in the process, like there were some ups and downs. Like there isn't just about anything. But yeah, when you start getting the hang of it, it's actually that's. I think that's where you find the love for the sport. Don't get me wrong. Like yeah, you can find your love for the sport while you're wrestling, but it's a whole nother love when you're on the outside looking in.
Oh,
giving
yeah.
back.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like that's pretty much what you're doing now. You're like
Yeah,
you're working on your masters now, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're still giving back to like people like me that are still wrestling,
Yeah.
the freshmen coming in, all that good
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, and I think and I want to say that's where I found like that genuine love for the sport because it's like normally I was always about me. When I was wrestling, I was like me. Like yeah, wrestling's an individual sport, but it can also be a team sport. Which
Yeah.
we teeter-totter from that line. It's a gray area.
Yeah.
So we jump like when we're in duels. Yeah, support the team, but when we're at an individual tournament, we're like I'm worried about me.
Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
you have-
It's just a single you got on at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
When it came down to tournaments, you were very what's that? Isolated.
Yeah.
Isolated, kept to yourself and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. But that was like your way of preparation.
Exactly.
Your way of working. That if you had talked to one of us was pretty much like, hey, you're closer. Do you mind passing me a water or
Yeah.
this
Something
or
like that,
whatever?
Yeah,
along
you gotta
those
get-
terms.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
so it was-
but you would also you'd just take the time of since you work pretty much like a team captain. You'd take the time if you catch one of our matches. You kind of give back constructive criticism like
exactly.
always.
Yeah.
But I feel like as a team captain aspect of things, I feel like you still did your job. You're like I'm supposed to make my team better. Therefore, like I said, if you catch a match or something, you'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, this is where you messed up. I think it was like when I was trying to really use that misdirection low single. You were like, hey, like you're getting it, but the thing is, you're not committing. So either you commit or you find a new move.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So those kind of things, and like I said, some people look at it different. If you use that tone with someone else, they might be like, oh,
They
this guy's
take
such
it
a
offensive.
douche or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And my tone of voice isn't normally, the most like
Uplifting or anything, but it's
Yeah.
it's like
yeah,
new,
it-
like it's the
like,
same,
it
it's
can-
consistent. No.
Depending on who you are and your personality type, you can take it good or bad. You can be like, oh, well, this guy's just talking trash on me. He doesn't care and blah blah blah. But on the other spectrum, you have those guys that are like, okay, and they'll take it in and absorb it like you did, and then you go on from there. Like, yeah, I'm a hard ass at times. I don't really know how to, and that was probably the biggest thing. Like, you have to know how to talk to your athlete.
Right.
Because if you're talking to them like they're crazy or they suck, or you can't. There's been plenty of times where I wanted to tell some kids like, "Yo, I think you need to go hang them up and go home." but I don't. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be rough. That'd be
Like-
rough to hear from anybody. Just
Exactly,
like,
right? So it's just like I'll try, and if I don't have anything to say, then I just won't acknowledge it at all. You know, I'll just be like, "Well, you did good. That's what practice is for." And
Yeah.
leave
Exactly.
it at that, you know. But it's like when I was a team captain, like for the most part, I wasn't totally. I wasn't. Oh, you good?
My bad,
You
yeah.
good with the cough.
yeah, that's right. You good? You good?
Trying.
For the most part, I wasn't like real uplifting, especially like the cut. Like, because when I was cutting the 33s, you know, I wasn't.
Don't talk to me. Just practice.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna leave.
I was
And
pretty
then
much
I'm
like a
yeah.
dog with rabies. Like, don't even come near me. Like, I'm not in a
It's
good mood.
over.
Yeah.
It's over.
You know, so I wasn't the most vocal. But yeah, like you were saying, like when I'd catch a match or two, I'd be like, oh, you can work on this, do this, you know, you'll get that next match, let's stay in it. You know, like I'd be
Exactly.
positive, but that was, you know, of course, after a win and after I ate. You know,
Exactly,
so I
yeah.
was feeling good, you know.
You know, the thing is, like, he knows what he's talking about. You know, that's how I felt towards you. Obviously, I mean, I have only wrestled a year and a half.
Yeah.
So with that, the most memorable thing I saw from you was the fact that I don't know what school you were wrestling, but you were wrestling. You were down by like 8 points, and there was like at Moval, there was like a minute and a half left, and then
Was
so
it the black guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
I remember.
okay, this guy's
Ooh.
ankles fixed, bro. Wild. So
Oh, I know.
yes.
Oh Lord, I know.
So
Ooh.
so he starts. He's like, okay. He sees the clock, sees the score. Boom, ankle pick. Boom. Okay, can't turn him. Cut. Did that. And if he would have had like if you would have had like 20 more seconds, that's overtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was crazy. But like the way you reacted from it was, okay, boom. You know, you're at the tournament, but you were like, okay, should have done this better. You go, you eat, you get your food, and then you just go back and you start cheering on people,
Yeah.
or like again,
Yeah.
just being like, hey, you're getting it, just commit, or hey, just harder snap downs,
Yeah.
whatever. You became that extra coach at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
So like that, and then that's when you were really good with low levels. So that
I was all
Yeah,
right.
no, he
I was
is.
all
Yeah,
right.
for
I
real.
was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little better now. I was all right. I wish I was like a beast with it, but I'm okay.
right, you're obviously better than me, Adam.
Yeah.
Therefore, when you had something to say
1
about
and 5.
1-5, baby.
when you had
do that
when you had
tattoo.
something to say about that move that I was trying to hit, obviously I'm like, it obviously works for this guy, so I'm gonna pay attention
Yeah.
to what he has
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
say.
he knows how it works. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean that was another thing. I mean, I guess I like in hindsight, you know, now that I'm thinking back, I learned that, you know, a little earlier on. Like for example, when Porras All-American that year, he knocked me out of the tournament, and I could have just as easily been like, oh, screw this team, screw this guy, screw these coaches, because I mean there was a circumstance to that. Like, so I was wrestling Porras, we went into overtime. The first overtime, you know, I got in on my shot, and he hit his hip, you know, and any other ref, boom, you know, hit
Yeah,
that
called it
two,
too, yeah.
match over, you know. Well, never did. You know, your coach is like, when you got 2 of your own wrestlers wrestling, your
They-
coach isn't going to sit in the corner because then it's like bias. Like, who are you coaching for?
Yeah, exactly.
So our
Exactly.
coaches weren't even in the corner. So, you know, at the national tournament, you have video review and all that stuff. So you can throw a challenge block out there. Well, since no coach was in the corner, they were
Nobody
sitting
was
off
gonna
to the
throw
back.
that.
No one controlled the challenge block. Well, lo and behold, you know, this was maybe like a few weeks later. You know, Coach Meister comes up and talks to me after, you know, the dust settled, and he's like, "Yeah, if I'd have been there and challenged that, you probably would have had that too, and it would have been the match." You know, and I was like, looked at him and I was like,
It's just something crazy
You
in the
couldn't have
NAIA,
said that.
right, man?
Yeah.
It's like something crazy like that teammates can wrestle, but I feel like some of the schools definitely show who they're going for.
"Yeah, oh, definitely."
Some
Like,
other schools you can just
you
tell.
clearly have a coach like from another school that's like, "Well, yeah, I got 2 athletes right here, but I want this guy to win." 'cause he's the
Exactly,
better-
so
he's
you
the one
see
that's
the-
gonna
Yeah,
put up
he's a
points.
starter.
Yeah.
You see the coach on one side, and then the other corner is just
Yeah.
filled with like your homies
Yeah,
that are
Exactly.
just
and
like
it's- and
trying to
that's
help
something.
you.
Can I throw the break?
Yeah, and they don't know. Yeah, so you just have half the side where they're like, "I don't know what to do with my hands." You know what I mean? And then you have right? And then you have the other one who's a seasoned coach that knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And it's just it looks discouraging. So I understand like from a coach's perspective, like, yeah, let's not sit in one athlete's
Yeah.
because like then they'll think, oh, favoritism.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want this guy to win. I mean, I'm glad that they established a system on how to work that this year. So it's like we have plenty of coaches. Just pick. You tell your athlete, pick a coach who you want to be in your corner.
Yeah.
I
And you'll go
agree,
from
yeah.
there. Like, no hard feelings. You chose that coach now. Like, the decision was in your hand. So I wish I had that, because then had that challenge block had been thrown, hell, I probably could have won that match. Now, would I have All-American? It's probably a different story, because Porce was getting them cheeks clapped when he was wrestling this other kid from Embry-Riddle, I think. Ends up catching the kid on his back, pins him, and he was down like 8. So it's like,
Yeah.
that also goes to show, like, on any given day, in any given match, doesn't matter who you are, anything can happen. So it's like, never
Exactly.
give up. 1 in 5.
1 in 5.
And then you got to keep going, never stop wrestling. But yeah, like, so I guess I learned that, to cheer on my teammates a little early on, because even after Porce knocked me out of that tournament, I was like, yo, let me go root on my teammates, because it's like, I'd prefer to be that guy to run out there and be like, yeah, I lost to this All-American, as opposed to me sitting there and just being all depressed off in the corner to myself.
Yeah, exactly. Because
You
at
know,
that
like-
point, what good does it do to the team? Like, because you're
Exactly.
here as a team.
As
That's
a-
where that whole team aspect comes
Exactly. And that's the main thing. And some guys, I mean, I'm pretty sure, for the most part, a lot of the guys that we've had in this program, they've, grasped it. Because in high school, I know at the high school I was at, it was real family oriented. So,
Yeah.
like, we were always, like, for Christ's sake, like, my friend, my best buddy was in my corner coaching me in high school. Dude taught me how to wrestle. You know what I mean? He was
Yeah.
coaching me in high school. So it was like, I never tripped about not necessarily having a coach in my corner.
Right.
As long as I had someone that knew
They knew
that-
how you wrestled.
exactly, then I can go from there. So I never took anything, real personal or to the heart. But, that little situation right there, I was just like, oh, I mean, I wish someone was there to throw that block.
Yeah.
I was just unfortunate that didn't happen. But,
Right.
But yeah, I just find it better to, even if you're knocked out of a tournament, or heck, even if you're still in, like, I get it, focus on you. But at the same time, you could still be in that teammate's corner, or, off to the side, like, just with spirit cheering them on,
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like an ambiance thing. Like, if you don't have a certain coach in your corner or a certain person in your corner, it's going to throw everything off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
And especially with wrestling, you got that headgear on, you got hundreds of other people yelling, whether you're at the national tournament or just some individual tournament.
The parents
Yeah.
are trying to yell. The
Yeah.
coaches, the teammates are trying to throw
So
in their
you
2
can't
cents
hear
too.
who's, like, if you don't recognize voice, like, that's like me jumping in, like, I don't even, like, Brinkley. Me jumping in his corner. I'm not normally in his corner, I'm not normally around him, so he probably won't recognize my voice.
Yeah, sure.
As
In
opposed-
the heat of that
in the
moment,
heat of the
yeah,
game,
Exactly, yeah.
So as opposed to me jumping in my brother's corner, who I can be like, Damare, and he'll automatically turn and look, and then I coach him from there. Why? He recognizes the voice. So it's like
Exactly.
each wrestler has that person that they really do need to have in their corner, because that's just what's going to help them. Like, granted, I mean, I know I was talking about it with Coach Cook. He was like, we were having a discussion. He was like, yeah, for the most part, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what a coach is yelling in that corner.
Yeah.
Because, one, only 2% of that is being processed with y'all wrestling on that mat. Like, y'all are going to take in 2% of it. But at the same time, it's like 90% of that, 98% of that match is on you. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
we could yell anything we want. That's not going to say we're going to speak it into existence. Like,
Right.
y'all are the ones out there wrestling. It's y'all's actions. Even if whether you choose to listen or not, at any given moment, that match could take a turn for the worse or for the better in your
Exactly,
favor
yeah.
or not. You know what I mean? Regardless of what we're yelling, we could yell our heads off. What y'all are doing on that mat is purely on the wrestler as opposed to the coach. So it's like, when you made that point, I was like, yeah, there's not really much of a point in getting mad when you have that wrestler who's not coachable and they're just out there doing stupid stuff, like certain moves that don't work, and you tell them, like, that move's not gonna work. Still gonna hit it.
They're still gonna do
You know
it,
what I
yeah.
mean? So it's like there are some wrestlers who, I'm not gonna name drop that person. He knows.
Shout out Lot Drop. 1 in 5.
1 in 5.
1 in
But
5.
it's just
It's a tattoo
as
right there.
a wrestler and as a coach, you just have to go with the bumps and bruises.
Yeah. So like now let's focus a little bit on back to your wrestling career, man. What was the main thing that's changed from high school to college that you think is what led you to have, like, you might not think so, but like all the success that you did have, regional champ, 2-time national qualifier,
I mean, I guess,
from someone that started wrestling their junior year in high school.
yeah.
Yeah,
mean,
now that I know that makes me mad as hell.
I guess my main thing was, like, I was still hungry, like I had that sense of unsatisfaction. Like, granted, yeah, like how I stated earlier, I wasn't going to come to college. I was like, whatever, I give up. And then I was presented with an opportunity, and I was like, you know what? I didn't achieve that goal of being a regional champ or regional placer, state champ, you know what I mean? I didn't get that opportunity, didn't get that chance, and it sucked. For someone that didn't get that opportunity, that loves the sport of wrestling, that finally found, like, a calling, I was like, yo, I want to accomplish something, And so I just went out there, I mean, I guess I could say I had more fight. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to put any other wrestler down because all wrestlers have fight. You know, it's a grueling sport. But I guess the main thing that changed for me was, like, one, the big change is definitely like, the technique and the competition. Like,
Yeah.
in high school, like, if you're a senior, you're the big dog. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Gotcha.
you're wrestling kids. You're, like, 18, 17, wrestling 15, 14-year-olds, you know, freshmen, sophomores that made a starting lineup.
God,
you know?
wasn't
And that's
that the
already
time to be
intimidating.
alive?
That's
Oh,
already
right?
intimidating.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
for the younger
For the younger
class.
guys, exactly. Like, you're going in there and you're being the big brother. You're like, oh, with the headlock, the big brother thing, you know, like what Ben Askren did to Lawler, which was premature.
Brother.
stoppage.
It was
Premature
premature.
stoppage. Just throwing that out there, getting my jabs in. But no, like that was like the main thing that's changed. Like when you're wrestling kids in high school to coming into college, and it's like it doesn't matter how many years you've been in college. Like, for Christ's sake, we have a wrestler that's 30-something years old. That's a grown man. Wrestling.
true.
is-
Shout out
feel
to
that too.
Julio
Yeah,
from
right.
whatever you were from. Told me I wrestled. Dude, the man was a grown man with a wife
Yeah.
and 2 kids.
Like, yeah, like you get, like, there was a heavyweight from York at one point. This dude had a family. For Christ's sake, this dude coached our head coach. You know what I mean? So seeing him, or like, he had a tattoo on his arm of his wife and kid. You know what I mean? Like, so
Dude,
that was
that's
probably the biggest
crazy.
change. Is like a lot of these kids coming in. Like, we get these freshmen coming in. Like, yeah, these freshmen were solid. They may have been like 2-time state champs, 2-time runner-ups, placed at Fargo. Don't get me wrong; those are all great accomplishments.
Yeah.
But when you come to college expecting, like, oh, like, to be spoon-fed and handed a title, it's like, it doesn't work like that, because you have grown men that are still hungry, if not hungrier.
And we see people get wake-up calls here, too.
Exactly. You see people get humbled quick.
1 and 5. What's up? Dude, that's gonna. I swear, that's a tattoo right here.
Oh, yeah, dude, you look beautiful.
So from there, let's move on to, like, the best memory wrestling has given you throughout all these years, besides cutting weight.
Yeah, that's a memory, right? The best memory. There's quite a few to pick from.
Top 3 if you want to.
Being a regional champ was awesome. That was a pretty cool memory. You know, it was actually, that was probably one of my better tournaments. You know, I was wrestling real tough, and I guess I went in with a bit of a chip on my shoulder at that regional tournament when I won, because I went down. We had a duel against Bethany, and unfortunately I was the only guy to lose on our team. Like, we could have blanked him. But I was that guy, you know. So it was like 20-something to 3, the team score.
Sad team ducking me.
1 and 5, gang, right? So, you know, I was the only one to lose, and I ended up losing to a kid who I've beaten for the past 2 years. Like, every time I'd seen this kid, I beat him. Ty Coulterman, remember the dude? Would always beat him every time, and then it's just, I guess I got cocky. Dude got the better of me. I stepped over a wizard, put me down 3 points, and just couldn't come back, you know?
Yeah.
And so I went into that regional tournament, and what happened? Went into that regional tournament. They did the seeding meeting, they had their coaches meeting, and since that kid beat me, he was like ranked last. I was supposed to be the 1 seed. Ended up going down to a kid who shouldn't have been even at the tournament. Well, that messes up the entire bracket, because the number 1 went down to like the number 8. You know what I mean? So I didn't get seeded, and I was kind of pissed. I was like, whatever, you know, these coaches don't want to seed me, fine. I'm going to make them
Understand why they.
Yeah,
need
they're gonna
to.
realize real quick.
Exactly. So I went in with a chip on my shoulder. You know, had this one kid. My first match, his name was something Hudson. I don't remember.
Scott Hudson.
Definitely wasn't no Scott Hudson.
Well, we're gonna call him Scott.
All right, Scotty.
Keep going.
So I'm there and had this kid first match, and just destroyed him like no one's business. But I mean, it was nothing against the kid. It was just, I was pissed 'cause-
Personal.
Yeah.
All
you,
personal.
You had that extra energy, that extra fire.
So I went in there and I like destroyed this kid, and then didn't even shake the kid's hand. I was like, screw this, whatever, you know. And then Schmitty and Cook were in my corner.
Screw you, Scotty.
Meister was in my corner, you know. All the coaches were in my corner, and they're like, yo, that was good. Like, that was the best match I've ever seen you have. You know, I think I teched the kid like 18 to maybe 2. And then so...
Jordan Burris had just came out on the Wheaties, so like that's what he
Yeah,
had that
the
pointing up
Wheaties
through
box
Wheaties.
And then so did that, and then you know, the coaches were like, that's good wrestling, you know.
That's how you're supposed to be all the time.
Yeah, you know. And then so my second match going in, still pissed. had this kid who was not half bad. He was a previous All-American at 125, and then he bumped up because he had trouble making weight. So the kid was no pushover. And I ended up smashing him too, you know. And he was a good counter wrestler, so he was like trying to fire off on all my bad shots, and I was just rolling with the punches, you know. Ended up beating him. I majored him. I beat him like maybe it was like 10-8, not 10-8. I'm sorry, like maybe 10-5, 10-6. You know, ended up beating him, and then after that match,
We just kept being statements after statements after
Exactly.
statements. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I did one thing I remember is Coach Meister was like, "That's how a regional champ wrestles," and that till this day, and that was
I
3-4
just flipped
years
the
ago.
switch.
Right? Right? Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And then so like that's probably one of the things that always stuck with me. I was like, yo, like that's how like so like these dudes like Jason Nolf, you know, Bo Nickel, those guys when they're wrestling, it's like no hard feelings on the wrestler, but they're going out there and they're grinding. It's a fight, you know. It's
No,
You
definitely.
seen that video that's going around of the guy that like knocked the dude out? From
Oh, he
a hard,
snapped him. Dude, he
was like a
snapped
hard
him so
snap
hard, his
down,
face
like-
just, and he was out.
Yeah,
This is D1?
It was like yeah. No. This was like high school.
Yeah,
Oh, high school?
It was like a Louis. You remember how Louis used to
yeah,
like
he had
snap him
some
down?
nice snaps.
It was like that, but the dude like knocked him out on the way down.
That's an
See,
impressive.
because I thought you were talking about that video of, I don't know who they were wrestling, but Jason Nolf, like some dude was like, did the whole Conor McGregor
Yeah, yeah,
shimmy
yeah.
shoulder,
I
and he
saw
was
that
just like,
one.
all right, bet, and he just
He
sticks
pinned him
him.
like 10 seconds
yeah,
later.
right off.
Yeah, but like, and it's that kind of wrestling where it's like, they don't care. They're just out there grinding. Period. And that's, I guess I was in that.
That's
that
how
kind of
Penn
zone,
State wrestling.
right? Yeah. Well, I wish I was on that Penn State wrestling. grind.
Shout out, hey KO, if you want a 1-5, come in and make a comeback.
He's got you.
Got you.
We got that alumni scholarship part 2 because one of the people we interviewed went to Penn State.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
they
They
one
didn't.
of the-
They didn't wrestle.
Nah,
Oh.
but one of the
Yeah,
owners.
he got all happy. He was like,
one of
I was
the
like, oh, that's dope.
one of the co-founders of Girls Who Conquer, the people we like linked up
Yeah.
with, they both or Nadiria and her husband went to Penn State.
Wow.
So I was like,
That's
yo, if you want to
impressive.
give me a phone number to call right now, like I'll make
Alright.
that phone call.
I'll walk on.
I'll just
Take me, please.
Best at cleaning mats. What's
Yeah.
up?
but like that really, oh yeah, I'm the supervisor of that. No, that regional tournament was like probably the best I wrestled, and that's when, you know, I wrestled Vela in the finals, and I was beating him pretty heavily, and then he was coming back. But yeah, that was probably one of the, I mean, aside from getting to nationals, those are also great memories, you know. But granted, I went 0-2 one year, and then went down in the Bloods the following year. So I mean, being an All-American would have been that much sweeter. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But yeah, the best memory, I'd have to chalk it up to that regional tournament, just because, you know, I wrestled in a fashion that I've never wrestled in before. Like, I felt like I was on a whole nother plane, not compared to anyone else, but just mentally on another plane with myself. Like, normally
Right,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
out there flowing. That time I was out there, like, with my suit and briefcase. You know, I was ready for
Business,
You're going to work.
strictly business,
Strictly business,
on
yeah.
that different level.
Right, yeah, I had the mullet thing.
Yeah, you're-
black. You know, had the business business in the front, but it was a party.
There's a party in the back.
So yeah, that was probably one of the biggest moments for me with that one. Just
Yeah.
that regional tournament. It was fun. You know, it was a good time. I was flexing with my first place plaque. You know, I was having a good old time.
He turns around. Oh, what's up? You said DeMarco. What's
who
up?
said first place? You know, yeah. So
You
it was
said
fun.
you said what? You said 1-5 right now.
One
Oh. So okay, so you said how that one guy came back and he like you were spanking him all year and he came back and he beat you. Some people will call those. Some people will look at those as like as lessons. So, what would you consider your biggest lesson throughout your college career?
Me being humbled in that instance, like losing to someone like that, you know, because it's like a reality check, you know, like it's like I had a killer season, you know, and then beat that kid. He flexed up on me, and then he ended up beating me. I flexed on him, and then he had the last laugh at nationals and ended up dropping me. That moment right there was humbling, just because it's like, don't take for granted your skill, but at the same time, don't underestimate your opponent, regardless
Yeah.
of who he is, regardless of how many times you've beaten him, regardless of how many times y'all have met, whatever the case may be. You know, any wrestler who wants it just as bad can get it. So
Yeah.
those instances where you're humbled those are moments that will define you. Because, for example, one of our girls on the wrestling team, our girls team was ranked for a minute. They were ranked first in the nation and second
For a
in the
while.
nation. You know, they had some wrestlers had to pull out because of injuries and stuff like that. So their rank dropped a little. Yeah, but they were still contenders for the national title. You know. And,
Oh, for sure.
my biggest talk with our wrestler, I'm not gonna name drop anything because it was a sensitive situation. Well, in her tournament, she didn't have the girl caught her, like she was destroying this chick, and then
8-0, right?
yeah, it was 8-0. Yeah, it was going to 8-0, and then she was about to secure the tech. She got another takedown, another 4-point takedown. She's about to secure it and gets rolled, put to her back, and then they call
it right then.
Yeah, and this girl had gone undefeated all season. You know what I mean? She was having a killer
Yeah.
season. And then, so she's out there wrestling. That situation happens, and she just didn't know how to handle it. Why? Because unlike me, like where I experienced that humbling sensation, that humbling feeling earlier in the season, she hadn't felt that. She was undefeated. She was in
She
her
was coming
head-
off of a national title.
Yeah, and
On her
previously
way to
coming-
another one,
Yeah, on
yeah.
her way to another. And yeah, so like no one's gonna expect like for the national champ or the predicted national champ, returning national champ to go down like that.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, she went down, got pinned. Tried to review it. They were like, no, they're calling the pin. So she blew up. And it's all on camera. She blew up. She took off. Wasn't gonna shake the girl's hand. The judge official was like calling her like, yo, coach, go get your athlete. She needs to shake this girl's hand.
Yeah.
And it was nothing against the girl, but it was all emotions in that room. Right
Exactly,
there.
I mean,
nothing but emotion. 'Cause-
She's a senior,
Yeah,
how do
and-
you, yeah.
exactly, and you go down in the quarterfinals when you should have won it. And so I can understand where she's coming from. I felt that pain because even when I saw the video, my jaw dropped. I turned off my phone because I was watching it on flow on my phone. I turned off my phone and I just laid
You
in
were just
bed
boom.
because I was shocked. And I turned it back on. And I'm still watching it, and they're still going at it. And then so she finally comes back, and the ref's like, shake her hand. And so this athlete's yelling at the judge like, check the effing video, and I wasn't pinned, and this is stupid, like just going off. And the judge is like, shake her hand. So
It's
she
like,
goes
do it. It's done.
Yeah. So she goes out there and shakes her hand, and then he's like, oh, you're out of the tournament. Kicks her completely out.
And that's even more
It's-
emotions
yeah.
right there.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
just that's
I
a
remember,
right
like,
hook.
shout out to Coach Cook for this, but like I remember whenever, you realized like you weren't gonna able to go to nationals your senior year, and you took yourself out of like the spotlight and all that. You went through everything, and then you went into the back, and you were upset with yourself, disappointed. You're calling yourself this and that. Saying this and that, and then a coach is like, hey, your athlete's back there doing this, and Coach Cook's like, dude, he's a senior that doesn't get to go to nationals. How would you react?
Yeah.
Did you wrestle?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Especially like, because I had it in my head, like, because I wouldn't rank that my senior year, wouldn't rank, so it's like, that's another, adversity kind of thing. Like, with that season unranked, because I was jumping between weight classes, and then it was just too late to get ranked at the time, and then I had to win that tournament to get to nationals. They're only taking one. There was only one allocation, so only one dude's going. Didn't matter.
Right.
Right.
And so, like, previously, when the coaches found out I wasn't ranked or whatever, they couldn't get me on the rankings. They were like, well, he's a previous 2-time qualifier. They have to give him, like, an at-large bid or a wild card, even if he gets second or third.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
There has to be
something,
some way.
Right? And then just didn't work out the way it did. And I knew it. I knew I wasn't going to get the at-large or the wild card. But that didn't deter me. That didn't stop me from wrestling. Like, I still went into my third and fourth match ready to wrestle.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't going to... Because in the back of my head, I still held out hope. I was like, what if? What if? 'cause
Exactly.
no one's going to know what's going to happen. But yeah, like, situations like that, like, I could have easily have been like, oh, screw this, F that, and just not have shown up to my third and fourth place match. You know, I could have just forfeited out and be like, oh, this is BS. But I was like, no, let's not do that. Like, it's a mental maturity thing that you go through,
Right.
Like you can't just count yourself down and out when tough situations are brought to you.
Yeah.
Like, it was unfortunate. Yeah, I was extremely pissed, but I handled my business in the back, like you were saying. I
Didn't let people see it.
Exactly. Well, I tried not to. Apparently, he heard clearly.
Yeah.
But I mean, what can you say? I mean, I
Exactly,
can only do so
yeah.
much. But yeah, I wasn't gonna act out in the middle of the mat like what our athlete did, just because like that's not gonna bring any good. And at the same time, like, that kicked me out of the tournament. That our athlete was still in the tournament.
Yeah.
She could have easily have gotten third, But I was done. I was done and gone. Like, I was wrestling for third and fourth with no chance. You know what I mean? But it's just those moments like that where you need to be humbled early on is probably what's best. Like, for example, another female wrestler that we have, who was also a previous national champ, she, she's the year she won it, she won it with bum knees. You know what I mean? I think she had strained MCL, stuff like that.
Oof.
And then so coming this year, her knee was still bum, and then she ends up getting another ankle injury, stuff like that. So there was walls of adversity that she had to break through as well. But when she first lost, She lost to some chick, you know, she was the number 1 seed, you know, she had the easiest way to the finals, and ends up going down to some chick from Warner Pacific, if I'm not mistaken, but a girl that she shouldn't have lost to.
Yeah.
You know, and she could have just as easily have blown up like how the other athlete did and said, F this, screw that, this tournament's BS, but she didn't. She was like, she was pissed, yeah, she was upset, yeah, I understand. But the way she handled it is how...
Gotta have that shooter
every
mentality
wrestler
then.
should- every wrestler should have handled, like, even me, like, I applaud her that, because, like, that's a lesson I could put in
Yeah.
my book, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's how I could handle a situation, you know? So it's like, she handled that well, you know, because she didn't, you know, lose any team points, she didn't do anything like that, she was still, you know, she was in the right frame of mind, as opposed to just, oh, screw this, and then getting kicked out the tournament.
Exactly. So it's crazy. So like you are here for 5 years, you see all of this, and then you choose to stay back to be
Yeah.
a GA. So what helped you out with that decision?
The fact that they were gonna pay for my masters,
Yeah,
well,
help
that
out.
isn't the sole thing.
If we're
don't get me
gonna be
wrong.
honest.
A big part of it was that.
Right? Yeah, like you
Yeah,
know what
of
I mean. It's
course.
a free education.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
take-
gonna turn that down. But I mean, that wasn't the only thing that like, oh, I'm gonna stay because I'm getting a free education. No, I stayed mainly because I was like, yo, let me see what the other side of this looks like. Because like in the back of my mind, like my main goal, I want to be an air marshal. You know, I went to school and everything, just administration stuff like that. Like my end game, I want to be an air marshal. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I'd want to coach too. Like,
Yeah.
let's say I'm retired or whatever. I just didn't like the air marshal stuff.
Yeah, you could
let
do
me
that
go
on the
coach.
side or
Under
something.
your
Yeah.
belt,
Yeah,
you
you
have
know?
that for a resume. Oh, I wrestled in high school, college, and I was also
Exactly.
a graduate assistant.
Exactly. So like when that's like part of it. I was like, oh well, let me stay in and hang out. You know, this
Right.
should be fun. Let me see what this is like.
Yeah.
You know, and that was probably one of the reasons why I stayed. And then you know that put me in this position I'm in now. But yeah, that was probably one of the sole reasons. That I mean, free education, and the other side is like it's a new experience. Like why pass up an experience like that? You know, I got to be on. I got to see the other side of what it looked like to be a coach as opposed to just the athlete. Because like when I was an athlete, I was like, oh, our coaches are this is that and the third. They like you know just talking trash, talking down, and it's like
Most definitely.
when I'm on the other side, I'm like, yo, now I understand the thought processes of our coaches.
Right,
Because
yeah.
they would talk to me about stuff, and they'd be like, yo, well, this is that and the third's going on. And, you know, and that got me thinking, and I was just like, well, we put you through a lot as a coach. Like, athletes put their coaches through a lot. And, like, when you're on the inside, when you're that athlete, you don't realize it because you
don't
have
see
your
it from that
blinders. Yeah,
side.
you don't see from the. Yeah, you have your blinders on. You're like, oh, he favoritism. He likes this person over me. He's not gonna wrestle me. Oh, he sat me out. Blah blah blah. Whatever the case.
He doesn't wrestle my style.
Yeah,
We've
he
heard
doesn't
it. We've heard it
stuff
all.
like that.
Whatever.
Like, oh, he's not a good coach because
Excuses, whatever.
yeah, you know. But on the other side, it's like, yo, there's 80-something wrestlers. I gotta be it. Like you got to keep track of.
Attend to.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's like it's hard to help everyone, and then that's when you run the chances of running into that kid that's like, oh, he doesn't know how to wrestle because he's never here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he's not really there because he has he has another team he's got to be a part
Yeah,
of. You know?
yeah.
Like, you have a lot of athletes, so I mean, me experiencing that is how like I understood. I was like, yo, I get it now, as opposed to just me being biased and like, these coaches don't know what they're talking about type of stuff. So I mean, it was a good experience being on that other side. It was fun, you know. I got to do the coach stuff, so I mean that was cool. You know, got some gear, so that's always cool.
You
Always.
got to go up and get the food.
Yeah. Got to eat. Didn't have to worry about cutting. Boy, let me tell you, when you don't have to cut anymore,
And you're on those trips.
That's bliss. That is bliss. Oh, the greatest moment right there.
So you go through all of this, right? And then now you decide to start training for the U.S. Open.
Yeah, which should be fun. I mean, don't got too much high hopes for myself because I'm not. Well, at first, when I was gonna, go to the U.S. Open, I had thoughts of doing the Masters division, which is like ages 25 and up. So the cutoff would be the year 1994 because the tournament is April 25th, which is my birthday. Give me gifts.
Whoop, whoop.
Give me gifts.
Yeah, so I'd meet
We'll
the
put
requirement.
his cash app down.
Right, hook me up. I got rent coming. But yeah, so like I would have met the requirements to do the Masters division, which is the older guys. But I was like, well, I'm still kind of young. My body's still in shape. Why do the Masters division? So the coaches they talked to me like, yo, so what are you gonna do? And I was like, I finally made up my mind. I was like, yeah, I'll just do the senior division. which is where the division, you know, like Jordan Burroughs,
David
Kyle
Taylor.
David Taylor, you know, Kate Brock, those guys.
Yeah.
You know?
The
Yeah.
U.S. World Team members
Right,
are
yeah,
in.
that's the stuff they wrestle. But in my case, it's a little different because they changed the weight classes and stuff.
Dude,
So,
they change the weight classes all the time.
Yeah, but it's because this time they're trying to prepare for the 2020 Olympics. So like the weight class I'm dropping to, well, one, there's a huge gap. So it's like 134, which is I don't know how many kilograms. Conversion math ain't my thing. So it's like the weight class 134.
That's 60.9 kilos.
60
so
61
61
kilos. 61
Yeah,
kilos,
so
right?
61 kilos, right? That's that weight class right there. And then there's one which is 141 or no, not even that. I think it's 145 or 147, something like that.
65, 66 kilos.
Yeah, I think it's 66
So like
kilos.
that gap, I was like, okay, I don't cut weight for 140. Like for the weight class collegiately, what for 140 is 141.
Yeah.
I don't even cut weight for that so much. I mean, I cut maybe 8 to 10 pounds, which is not a cut. Like it's easy,
Right.
To, you know, like I can just come down and boom. Like it's 2 practices and I'm on weight, you know.
Yeah.
So if I were to go to the U.S. Open senior division, wrestling 145, 146 against these guys who are probably coming down from 160, 150, not even 150, probably 160, 170.
Yeah.
They're gonna look like monsters compared to me. So I was like, you know what? Nah, let me not do that. I'll just cut down to 134 and call it a day, you know? So
But the thing is, you have plenty of time to prepare.
exactly. I have 2 months, you know,
Oh,
to
yeah.
get my weight down. I've been wrestling, you know. So it should be a fun deal. I mean, I'll make weight easy. I've been after a practice, I'm probably like 140, you know, 143.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
drop
not
it to
terrible.
133. That won't be
Yeah,
that
so
bad.
the cut shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, that
Especially
should be fun.
like you say, 2 months. Okay, by the end of this week, I want to weigh this much.
Exactly.
Yeah,
If I
it doesn't even have
start-
to be a cut. It's just like a
a
gradual
diet.
weight drop. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just, you know, it's more managing my weight as opposed to cutting it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
of course.
And at the same time, keep in mind, it's like, yo, that tournament's several months away. But when you're in a season, you're every 2 weeks, every week, you're cutting away, you know. So that's when it gets strenuous. But in my case, it's an easy cut. So I'm
Yeah,
not
it's a
worried about
one-time
it.
thing.
Yeah,
Just
exactly. So it's not so much the cut that I'm worried about. It's who's gonna be there. Like the caliber of wrestler that's gonna be there. That's gonna be the tough part, you know.
Do you know any names of those guys in the weight class right now?
No, because they haven't even submitted anything.
Peacock.
Yeah, right. So I don't.
Thomas Gilman.
Oh God, I don't want none of that smoke. But yeah, I don't know who's gonna be there. You know, because like one, they haven't released any bracket
Information
or
or
any
anything like
information
that.
on who's
Yeah.
attending yet. And then 2, since my weight class is an Olympic weight class, so like let's say you win at 134, right? That only puts you on the national team. And then so for the one that's I think it's 145 or whatever,
Yeah.
that one, if you win that one or place at that one, that qualifies you for the national team and the world team. So then you get that bye to like the U.S. Open, not the U.S. Open, the Vegas, the trials.
Yeah.
You get
World
that bye
team
to the
trials,
world
yeah.
team trials, all that good stuff. But that's all setting up for the 2020 Olympics. So that's what like Jordan Burroughs and all those guys on the Olympic team, that's what they're waiting for, and they're dropping a certain weight classes and stuff like that. So my weight class, I don't think there's gonna be that many tough wrestlers there, just because like those wrestlers that are competing to go, you know, to the Olympic trials and stuff like that, they won't be in that weight class.
Because they already have their seats there due to the fact
Yeah.
that they're
Returning
world
members.
Yeah, so they're gonna
Yeah.
have to choose a weight class that's eligible for a national team.
Olympic.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
30, the one I'm doing won't be. So I'll have guys that are probably same mindset as me, like, oh well, I'll just be on a national team. Which I
Heck
mean,
yeah.
you still get the stipend, you still get to train at the OTC, all that good stuff.
Hell
You're just
yeah.
You
not
imagine you go in there and you just wreck somebody.
Oh
like
yeah, dude, that wouldn't happen. Oh, yeah. That'd be fun.
you
though.
just eat your Wheaties again in the
Eat the
morning.
Wheaties, and then
Yeah.
your Jordan's just like, "Hey, you want to roll?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Pick, and then you're just like, "I'm gonna take the shoes.
yep,
I'm done. The
call it
shoes
a
are
day
off.
right there.
We're
But,
done."
Yeah, so that's the next big step, and we'll see how that goes. You know, if I do place, then I mean, I'll probably.
Lose your shit.
Oh, definitely. I'll go bananas, and it's in Vegas, so I know I'm turning up right after. You know, I'll have a reason if I win.
Exactly.
But yeah,
and even if you lose, you got to turn up.
Oh,
Yeah,
if
it's,
you
it's
lost.
Vegas, you know,
It's
whatever.
Vegas, you know, it doesn't matter if you're 1-5. You know, but
Don't tell my mom.
but yeah, so that should be fun. Mainly, though, another reason why I'm going is because like it's in Vegas. Like,
True.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
have a blast.
yeah.
It's Vegas.
Everyone has a blast in
It's
Vegas.
right? But yeah, that's the next big old thing getting ready for. some good training. You know,
That's what's up, man. Why don't you, like, before we finish up, why don't you hit up on what you want to do in your future being an air marshal?
future plans, yeah, air marshal. That's I knew I wanted something to do in law enforcement when I was like in middle school. You know, I had a teacher and we had this program that was, you know, a law enforcement program kind of thing. So, you know, I did that, and same at my high school. There was a little law enforcement program. So I just stuck with those, and I was like, yo, I want to be involved in law enforcement.
I can
And-
picture you as, like, that kid that always wanted to play cops and robbers, and, like, you were like, I'm only a cop.
Yeah.
He was
I
like,
was
I've
just-
never been a robber.
and my mom says it all the time. She's like, yeah, you'd be a great cop. You're a dick. You know, and it's like, well, you know, I
Some
guess.
cops are
Thanks, Mom.
cool.
You know, yeah, there are
Thanks,
some cops.
Mom.
But yeah, so doing that, like, yeah, I have to do, you know, police academy stuff, which is the basic stuff. You got to do that for 6 months, 7 months, and then I have to do my patrol cop thing for a few years just to get the experience.
Oh, so you still, even with your degree, you still have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, you still have to climb up.
Yeah, the only reason why, because in certain places, like, you don't need a degree to be a cop. So, like, back in El Paso, you need a semester of college. You need some college, and then you can go into the police academy and do your thing or whatever.
Like 12 credits, right? Like
yeah,
something
just
like
12
that.
credits. Yeah, exactly 12 credits. And then, but in Dallas, you need your bachelor's.
Oof.
You know what I mean? So, like, if you don't have that bachelor's, it's like you can't be a cop in the bigger cities where you'd get paid more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so for the career path that I want to pursue, being the air marshal, it's not based off of, like, oh, you did this or you have this much experience. You have to have a degree. Or be,
Right,
like,
yeah.
military, like, retired military, whatever the case may be. But, like, if you have your degree, so you have your bachelor's, that's one pay grade. You get your master's, that's another pay grade. You get your PhD, that's another pay grade. So they do it by pay grades.
You get your PhD, you're running the, you're
Right.
running the show.
Yeah, me getting a PhD is completely out the window. I'm
Right.
not- that's more school.
But
I'm
you're
not
for
doing
sure
that.
getting your master's.
Yeah, I will
Sweet.
be finishing off my master's, you know, just because, I mean, I already started. Because at first I was just going to do this couple classes and then call it a day, just go to police academy, and then eventually start my master's. I was like, yo, I already started, just finish it off.
Yeah, keep it rolling.
Yeah, so I'm doing that, and then that's mainly, you know, just to get that salary bonus, you know, like a bachelor's is cool, but now you got your master's, that's more money.
Yeah.
So, but that's still going to be further up the road, you know, because I still have plenty of time to get that done. And I still need the experience and all that good stuff. So, yeah, you know, pretty much just get paid to sit on planes and make sure 9/11 doesn't happen again. So
Sweet.
Sweet. I like good work.
Yeah,
I like that. That's a great.
right,
That's a great field
right.
to get into. Don't want that to happen again.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much as far as that goes. I mean, worst case scenario, not worst case scenario, but like if I do decide to make a career change, it'd probably be to coaching. And
But you
just
already
go
have that
from there.
experience
Yeah, I
down
already
there,
have
so-
experience as
Perfect.
well.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Thanks so much for stopping by,
No
bro.
problem.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me. Appreciate it.
All right.
Got you with the air.
All right. Peace out. 1 in 5 McJuicy.
Lately I ain't sleeping much, I'm staying up at night, wondering if all the choices that I make are right. A lot of people doing music for a piece of pie, but all I ever really